I am Tana Llines, chairwoman of the Palmetto Bay Business Association, and we are talking money. We're talking with small businesses, and it's tax season, PPP, lots of stuff going on. I am actually here with one of our members, Marcell Hetenyi, CPA and certified public accountant, of course. And you know what, Marcell, I'm going to turn it over to you. Why don't you tell everybody what you do, kind of a little bit about your background and how you got to be, so good at what you do.
Thank you. Thank you, Tanya, for the introduction, and thank you, community newspapers, for hosting us. So I am a certified public accountant with Sheckner Hetenyi PL. We are a full-service boutique accounting firm with two offices, one in Palmetto Bay and one in Coral Gables. I work with my father-in-law, Martin Sheckner, who is essentially a legend in the industry. He's been a local CPA for 40 plus years. He used to actually work with IRS at the task force, working against organized crime, and then he broke out on his own and started his own business.
I was wondering what the relationship was with your business partner, but he's your father-in-law.
He's my father-in-law. Correct.
Oh, okay.
Correct. So he had his business for a long time, and then I joined him. Originally started working for him in 2004, and then the firm in its current iteration, Sheckner Hetenyi, became existent in 2009 when I became a partner, and then since then we've been growing the firm together. We are, as I mentioned, a full-service boutique accounting firm. We do all individual returns, or corporate returns, or trust returns. So pretty much all income tax returns one can think of, we can handle. But we primarily specialize in IRS tax problem resolution. That comes from Martin's IRS days from when he was younger. We also do a lot of international taxation. That's my personal specialty. And here in Miami, there's an awful lot of international
taxation. Okay. So if we have property overseas and things like that, you link it all into a nice package for the IRS.
Correct. So it can be inbound and outbound. Inbound meaning a foreign person doing business in the U.S. could be something as a rental property, or actually running an operating business, or outbound, which is a U.S. person doing business abroad anywhere in the world. We would handle their U.S. tax reporting and tax financial issues, and then we would work with their foreign accountant to make sure that they are tax efficient in both countries.
That's got to be extremely complicated.
It is.
Especially with all the changing laws and new presidents and things like that.
And it gets even more complicated if you have more than two countries involved. Many times our clients that go overseas, they don't just go into one country, they go into 6 or 7 countries. So now you have a much larger, much more complicated picture. So that's definitely a very complex work. That's where we get the tax attorneys involved, and we create quite complex structures.
Sorry, Marcell. So what types of clients are you working with? Like, what's the kinds of industries do you work with?
Most of our clients happen to come from the service industry. A lot of them are attorneys or doctors or lawyers or insurance people. A lot of people do investments. We have a lot of manufacturing facilities that manufacture stuff, a lot of consultants. And there's really only a handful of industries we don't work with, primarily construction and restaurants. Those are very unique animals. And so people that do construction, they do nothing but that. Similarly, people that do restaurant accounting, they do nothing but that. Also, we don't really do like business valuation. That's, again, another kind of unique thing. Somebody that does that specializes in that, and they wouldn't do a basic individual return. Their job is to just value businesses day in, day out. So those things we don't do. But by and large, we are able to handle most everything.
So we were talking right before we started this interview about how you get your new business and how you get referrals. And I would assume that with the speciality of what you do, it's word of mouth.
Correct. It's all networking. Hence, I'm part of the Palmetto Bay Business Association, and you should be too. But I also have a large network of attorneys that I work with. Obviously, tax attorneys are number one, but pretty much any and all attorney has the ability to refer to us. Since sometimes somebody may get a notice from IRS, and then they immediately rush to an attorney, thinking, "Oh my God, I'm going to go to jail," and they're like, "Oh no, not there yet. Go see Marcell. He can help you out. You may not need an attorney just yet."
Your get out of jail free card.
Not necessarily free, but at least get out of jail card. And of course, current clients and future clients and so on. So most of our clients come from referrals like that and networking connections like that.
I'm sure. Well, we can't talk about money right now without talking about two big new programs that have come out, like the PPP loans. So specifically talking to small businesses and thinking about your business in general, how has your firm adapted to the challenges of the current work from home, the new PPP loans, the complications, the stress of clients? Is there anything that you can say how you've, adapted your business?
Yes. Well, certain elements were already in existence at our firm. For example, the working from home and working remotely and Zoom calls, because as we talked about the international element, a lot of my clients are not in Miami. They may be overseas, they may be in some other state. So we've been doing Zoom calls far before it was popular, courtesy
Ahead
of
of your
the
time.
coronavirus. Yes. So that was already something that we were doing, and because of our work was done so remote, it didn't really matter where our office was, didn't really matter where we worked from. Obviously, what was new when the coronavirus came about is whatever few meetings we did have, those already went to Zoom, and we had to obviously catch up real fast with the PPP and everything else that came from the CARES Act that was passed last year. And of course, clients just don't fully understand that it's not like we were born with this knowledge. So literally one night it passes, and the next morning my email and my phone is full of messages saying, okay, tell me everything about it. And of course, that's impossible, but we had to jump on it and then learn it real fast, and within days be able to advise our clients what is open, what's available, and what they should do if they are able to.
I'm sure that was a very intense couple days.
that was very, very, very intense. But ultimately we got it done, and ultimately we learned, and ultimately the clients, I believe most clients were able to have a pretty satisfactory resolution to whatever issues they had. Unfortunately, not all of our clients got through with no issues, but certainly most of our clients survived, and that's great.
Yeah, that's a great success story to have some of those get funded. The other big elephant in the room is, of course, it's tax season, and a lot of small businesses are, with the added complication of PPP loans and things like that. How has the tax laws changed, and do we get a little bit more time? What's been going on?
As of 48 hours ago, you get a little bit more time. Now the extension deadline, not the extension deadline, but the deadline got pushed out to May 17th. So you have one more month. That is an extension of time to pay and an extension of time to file. Normally, an extension is just an extension of time to file. So the payment is due April 15. Now you have till May 17 to pay. Now, one major caveat, not so much for the Florida locals, but states have not yet, they literally became aware at the same time you and I did. So now the states are sitting down and confirming whether they will conform to the federal changes or not. So if you happen to be like an attorney or somebody that does business in other states where there is state income taxes, you have to be very careful. Make sure that whatever state you have to file in has conformed and is also extending it to May 17. If not, you may have to file by April 15 because of the states that are there. So do not put your taxes on the back burner. It's only 4 more weeks. So even if you're a Florida resident where you don't pay state income taxes, that's only 4 more weeks. Just keep going, and work with your CPA and just get your returns done. There's no reason not to.
Yeah, I know that it gets very, a lot of people are scrambling to put the paperwork together and make sure we've got reports, things. I know we're scrambling, but how is the IRS handling all this added paperwork, and how have they been shuffling through the pandemic?
They are struggling, and
Really?
I mean struggling. Even before the pandemic, they were blaming for delays the government shutdown that happened, I believe, 18 months prior to that. Now, during the pandemic, they were literally closed, lock, stock, barrel, locked down between March 13 and August 6. There was nothing open, not a human being you could talk to, and they actually rented shipping containers, the big 20-foot shipping containers. That's where all the mail went. And so,
Suspicious.
and as of late last year, there were still millions of pieces of mail sitting in there waiting to be opened. IRS is working on catching up. Now they're mostly back open, but a lot of people are still working remotely. So it's very, very, very slow. Just something as simple as applying for an EIN. You start a business, you can apply for an EIN. You used to be able to do it via fax in 4 days if you cannot do it online. Now it's 45 business days. That's went from 4 days to 45 business days, and pretty much everything else is, I just got a letter that IRS finally addressed something that was sent to them last August.
Well, I mean, you have to kind of put in perspective, the IRS are people too. And if their systems were slow before, I'm sure that this complicated things. And so I can imagine the backlog of
It's
of
awful.
work.
Now, the only drawback, and this is, I don't want to sidetrack the conversation about IRS, but their printer, on the other hand, unfortunately, is working. So the notices are keep going out. So we had to actually respond to a number of notices where the client made payment, but the check is sitting in one of those containers, and so they got a notice saying, "Look, you still owe us money." So then we have to obviously spend time and spend the client's money and headache and hassle to tell IRS that no, you just have not yet deposited the check and gave the client credit.
I think I heard something about this a couple weeks ago. I think the post office is actually on the chopping block about this issue too. Is about the mail being so delayed, the bills are being paid, and they haven't been. Okay, not to sidetrack the conversation,
Correct.
but that's
and
all
that's
linked.
why one of the number one recommendations I give to people is do everything online. You can pay online via EFTPS, which is the Electronic Federal Tax Payment System. There's IRS Direct Pay, which is IRS's website where you can make payment, file your returns electronically, do anything and everything electronically that you can, because between IRS being backed up and the USPS slowing down, mail is just not that reliable for important things like this nowadays.
Well, and electronic payments are completely trackable as well.
And they're
in the digital world ourselves. So.
Correct. They're instantaneous, and it's also cheaper because you don't have to do the certified mail. At minimum, you save $7 there plus the postage. Why not?
So you mentioned some advice there about paying bills and things like that. What other kind of common mistakes do you see with your clients that maybe you think it's a common sense thing that we should all know by now, but what kinds of things do you see?
Well, there's a few things. Obviously, the number one mistake I see, and that has nothing to do with coronavirus, that's just since day one, is clients need to be proactive. Okay, we are CPAs, not magicians. I'm not behind the client all the time. I don't know what's happening. So when they make a large transaction in their life, if they're about to buy a house, sell a house, buy a business, sell a business, even maybe just to decide whether they want to lease or buy a car, just give your CPA a call. Make sure that what you're doing is the right thing. A 5-minute phone call could save you thousands of dollars and hours of headache. So if you tell your CPA the following April that, by the way, these are all the things that happened, some of the things may just be too late. So that's number one. Number two, which is a more modern thing, is please do not take tax advice from TikTok or Google or any of those places. It's unbelievable how many times I have to defend myself. It's, I guess, the modern version of your hairdresser. It used to be that your hairdresser kind of told you what he or she heard from other clients as what's out there in the tax world. Now these 60-second, 90-second TikTok videos that seem to be just kind of wreaking havoc. And there's no tax concept, certainly nothing that's going to save you a tremendous amount of money that you can explain in 90 seconds. So it's just very unlikely that's going to change your life. Certainly you can listen to it, ask your CPA, but if your CPA says no, it doesn't work, just kind of let it go. The most important thing that I always recommend to all clients is always review your books and review your tax return. Okay, every time when you file a return, you have to send the client a draft, and then they have to have a chance to review, and then you have to send the e-file signature authorization, which you have to sign and send you back. Sometimes I get that back so fast that I know they couldn't even look at the return, like glance over it. You're signing it under penalties of perjury. And I truly am honored by the trust that's put into me, but we are humans.
That's a lot of responsibility.
Just like you mentioned, IRS is humans and they make mistakes and they also have to worry about coronavirus. We have families, we are tired, we make mistakes. And also we will never ever know your business as well as you will. So there may very well be some expenses that we missed, or for example, if your meals and entertainment expenses were $4,000 last year, only you may know that no, it should be 8 or 10 or 12 or whatever. Obviously now because of coronavirus, I certainly expect the meals expenses for the year to be less than they were the year before.
Sure.
But still, I don't know how much you did or did not travel. So for me, sometimes I may catch it, but I may not. So I think, and I don't have statistics for this, but I think billions of dollars of taxes are left on the table by basically the client not properly reviewing the accounting when the bookkeeper is done with it and the tax return when the CPA is done with it, to see if in fact everything was captured correctly.
Sure. You also gave the Palmetto Bay Business Association a quick tips last time you were on our Zoom. One specifically was about the meals was about a percentage of the meals that you could fully deduct as opposed to another set of meals that you could percentage. You want to just repeat that, make sure I didn't get that?
Yes. I mean, I don't want to get technical here, but essentially most meals are 50% deductible. I think the idea behind that is obviously you would have to eat no matter what. So it's just but you may just go to Pollo Tropical instead of Joe Stone Crab. So as a result, the second half is the deductible part. I don't know for sure if that's the case, but that's kind of what makes sense. However, certain meals, so if you are traveling overnight, those are 100% deductible. If you're throwing an office party, that could be 100% deductible. Obviously, snacks for the office or coffee for the office, those are 100% deductible. So and obviously your bookkeeper will just see a grocery list, or we'll just see a meal at a restaurant, and they may know it's out of town, they may not, because a lot of times the restaurant on your credit card bill shows up wherever the headquarters is of that restaurant. Let's say the Cheesecake Factory may be headquartered somewhere in Tennessee, I don't know. Then on your credit card bill it may just show up as a charge in Tennessee, even though you ate right here at Dayland. So your bookkeeper or your CPA will not know how to bifurcate that and which one is 50% meal and which one is 100. Only you can do it. I always joke, only you can prevent forest fires, and only you can review your own books correctly.
You just reiterate that same fact of like open communication with your CPA and knowing your business and being able to 100% trust.
Correct.
Keeping those.
There is no need to annoy him with questions every 5 seconds. But on the other hand, if a question comes up, just feel free to ask. Most CPAs out there that I know of don't bill for a 3-minute phone call. Yes, if we spend an hour on the phone discussing various tax strategies, then we would bill for that. But then again, your odds are you're going to get your money's worth out of that.
Absolutely.
But if I get a single quick email with a quick question, like yesterday, a client asked, they're hiring somebody under certain circumstances, and should they be an independent contractor or a salaried employee? Perfect. That was the time to ask. I quickly responded to it. Literally, it was a 2-sentence response. I did not bill for it, and now potentially huge headaches have been avoided, because if that person does wrong classification and I learn about that next April, it would be a lot harder to fix it.
Sure. What about, I know we've talked a little bit about the pandemic, a little bit about obviously the IRS, the tax season. How is your industry specifically moving ahead in terms of technology and new ways of doing things? Because, accounting is not known for its innovativeness. Maybe I could say that, but there is technology backed there, and I want you to kind of explain where we're going.
I mean, I guess we just have, bad PR agents, because there's actually an awful lot of technology and we are actually quite cutting edge. It's just that for most people, it's just, they still think of those, math squared.
They give me stomach pains when I see them. I'm not a numbers person.
But nowadays, I mean, it used to be that QuickBooks was the industry leader in bookkeeping, and not only industry leader, they pretty much had a monopoly. That has changed very, very substantially over the last few years. There's Wave, there is Xero, there is at least 5 or 6 other ones that I can name that are very, very good bookkeeping programs, and there's Mint. I don't have much experience with Mint, but I heard, especially for personal bookkeeping, it's pretty good. So the technology in the bookkeeping industry has changed very, very substantially. Of course, electronic filing, which in my opinion is number one. We've been electronically filing returns for 20 plus years. There is still, unfortunately, preparers out there that don't electronically file, and there are still clients out there who don't trust the electronic filing system, even though statistically it's been proven that a paper filed return has a 21% error rate and an electronically filed return has a 0.5% error rate. So it's very, very different, primarily because our software has certain diagnostics that when it's set up for electronic filing, it checks for a lot more things, and a lot more T's have to be crossed and I's dotted. So it becomes a lot more accurate tax return. So electronic filing is crucial. And nowadays you can file pretty much all kinds of returns electronically. You can make all payments electronically. As I mentioned before, pretty much everything you can now handle electronically. You can even submit power of attorneys now electronically.
Sure.
So that's definitely a main thing. The second thing is now, or the third rather, is security when it comes to your data. It used to be that you took your proverbial shoebox, gave it to your CPA. Well, now it's all
under the mattress,
whatever. But now with emails, you have to be careful, because a lot of information provided to us has your name, address, social. It's ID theft heaven. So first of all, you only want to use an accountant that has a secure way of providing information. We have a very special, very, very protected portal that they can upload information to. That's secure. The moment it's on the portal, we take it off, so no information is stored on there.
Especially if you're doing business overseas, I would assume that your business would be very attractive to oversee hackers and things like that.
Potentially, but I would argue that any CPA out there, even if you just do very, very simple returns, actually probably those people are probably more at risk because those people are a lot less sophisticated. My clients that have multi-million-dollar businesses overseas have very sophisticated computer systems. They're probably a lot less worried about hacking than somebody who maybe just a manager at Publix with a simple paycheck, and then God forbid they just email their W-2 to their CPA. Somebody through phishing gets that. On your W-2 is your name, address, social, your income information. It's ID theft happens. So you only want to work with a CPA that has secure ways to provide communication. And you also want to make sure that when you send information, it's secure. When you receive information, it's secure. Don't just say, hey, here's all my stuff and attach it to an email.
I guess we all need those reminders to button up a little bit on our security and protect our identity.
And if you own a business, cybersecurity insurance is now a must. It used to be you have your umbrella insurance, you have your liability insurance, all of which are important. But if you own your own business, even if you don't send, such sensitive information as we do, it's not that expensive. Just get yourself some cybersecurity insurance. God forbid something goes wrong.
I actually just got mine last month. we built a lot of websites for government.
So yeah, I think I started mine 2 years ago, which was probably 2 years too late, but now we have it. And also one of the last things that I think is a major improvement that a lot of people are not aware of is IRS has an awful lot of great portals where you can get information from them online. For example, we download for every client that we ever work with, download their transcripts before we file a tax return. IRS provides transcripts called an account transcript, which is all the payments you ever made for that year. So if you made some estimated tax payments and you maybe forgot to tell me about them, I will know. Or if you told me that you made these 4 payments and you only made 3 of them, I will know. There's a wage and income transcript, which essentially shows all income information and some expense information that was reported to IRS from third parties. So if, let's say, you had 3 mortgages, or you refinanced your mortgage and you gave me one 1098 for the mortgage interest, but not the old one from the pre-refinancing, I will know that from there. If you may have a small savings account somewhere in a bank you forgot about and you earned $30 of interest, I will know it and I can put it on there. So you want to make sure that your accountant also utilizes those fantastic new features, which is not that new anymore. That's been around for about 15 years, but believe it or not, there's still a lot of accountants that
I had no idea that existed. But
that's the thing.
I learn something new every day.
we really are a lot more sophisticated than we sound, or just at least may come across.
But those are essential tools that you need to be able to do your work and be able to have those conversations with your clients.
Absolutely. And they also result in a much higher quality product, which is great for the client and great for us because it also reduces the chance of a notice. It's very annoying to get a notice because you forgot to report $200.
Yeah, because I don't remember all those payments from years ago, and so something's bound to slip through the cracks.
Nobody does, and it's actually that helps very much if somebody comes in who hasn't filed for a few years. It's not like they have their ducks in a row, they just forgot to submit the paperwork. So utilizing these tools and techniques, we can catch them up accurately and quickly.
So say I have a small business, but what if I'm starting a new business, or I've been doing my bookkeeping in-house and I'm starting to say, like, okay, we really need a professional such as yourself to take this on. What should any new business look for in a CPA or an accountant when they look for tax prep and bookkeeping services?
So my firm primarily specializes in income taxation. So we're income tax experts. We don't really do too much bookkeeping, but certainly it's a major element of what we do, or at least what we work with. So we work with a lot of bookkeepers and we do some in-house, but having qualified professionals is really the most important thing. I think that's really the most important thing in any industry, quite frankly, whether you have an IT person or somebody that does digital marketing, to have somebody that's qualified. When it comes to accounting, that means either a CPA or an EA. An EA is an enrolled agent, which is about as close as you can get to a CPA.
Enrolled agent?
Enrolled agent,
okay.
Yes. It's about as close as you can get to a CPA without being one. And you have to pass 3 very difficult exams that's administered by IRS, and it's essentially a certification by IRS. As an enrolled agent, you can actually even practice in tax court. And so that's a very solid designation to have for tax preparers. Bookkeepers don't really have their own. So with bookkeepers, you just kind of have to make sure that they work that they work with your industry and they have the proper level of experience. Bookkeeping, unfortunately, is a very underappreciated art. And when it comes to all the modern automation, it becomes even more and more underappreciated because they just go online and say, oh, look, Quicken or QuickBooks just downloaded all my transactions. It's great.
And assign.
And the downloading or the entering the numbers is really just about 20% of the battle. 80% is where to classify it. And that's very important. If the owner has to put money into the business, is it going to be a capital contribution? Is it going to be a loan? How is it going to be treated? Certain expenses, are they going to be expenses? Do you capitalize them? Do you not? That's where the knowledge and experience comes in. And that's where, there's nothing wrong with solo practitioners, but that's where I prefer firms. There's bookkeeping firms and even accounting firms. I have a small firm, but still at any given time, there's about 6 of us in the office. Problem with solo practitioners, if they go on vacation, then you won't hear from them. They won't be able to answer your questions. If anything happens to them, then there's nobody else to take over the business.
So the idea of scalability, as your business grows, you want your CPA or your accounting firm to be able to handle your new challenges, to be able to forecast, work with you as you want to buy property or buy inventory, things like that, right? You want higher level thinking, not just the day-to-day.
But even with the day-to-day, again, that's the beauty of having a firm to work with, is if the person you usually work with is on vacation, well, there's always somebody else who can grab the file and answer your question, because you may not have a week till they come back from the Bahamas or whatever. Well, last year and a half, that was not an issue.
Maybe next year.
Yeah, maybe next year there will be a problem if they're going to now go and make up for all the lost vacation time. And I've seen that to be an issue. So that's really the two big things that I think people have to look out for. And don't be too cheap. I know some people are out there who do bookkeeping for $20 an hour and they do $200 returns. And unfortunately, you get what you pay for.
You get what you pay for.
Yes. Yeah. And I guess that, again, goes for every industry out there. If you crash your car and someone's going to fix it for free for $500, odds are it's going to be that good. Or even build a website. I'm sure there's some college kid out there that can do it for you for, $50, but it's probably not going to attract enough.
And it may do the trick for the first little bit, but as you grow with the company, you're going to need that, all the bells and whistles.
Correct.
So I guess one last question as we kind of wrap up here is, I know we've talked about the economy opening up and like next year, where do you see your firm going? What do you see the industry of accounting moving towards? Is there any trends that you see that you're really going to grab onto?
Well, me, not so much, but I think just like with all other industries, as we already talked in various elements, automation is really coming, which is a blessing and a curse, which also we touched on, just like again with QuickBooks, it just kind of gives a false impression of how easy certain things are. Unfortunately, accounting and bookkeeping is going to be one of those where you will never be able to remove the human element. Certainly when you get examined by IRS, a machine will never ever be able to represent you. Ultimately,
when you need to grab me by the hand and walk me.
No, that's when you will not be there. I will represent you. That's rule number one. The client never ever meets with the agent, never ever sees the agent, because you could accidentally, even without meaning to, you could say something that will make the problem twice as bad. So no, you don't have to worry about that, or any client doesn't have to worry about it. But again, no computer will ever be able to represent you in front of IRS. No computer will ever be able to properly review your return, just like we talked at the very beginning, of what makes sense, what doesn't. Is that the amount of expense for rent or phone, is that a red flag or is it not a red flag? You will always need that human element there. But certainly automation is going to speed things up. That's fantastic. We can certainly do returns a whole lot faster now than we were able to do 20 years ago, when on those handwritten spreadsheets you change one number and you have to change now 20 of them. Now you change one number in an Excel spreadsheet and everything changes automatically. You change one number in a return, you hit recalculate, everything changes. So that's certainly a wonderful new element that I think, again, is affecting every industry. And as long as you treat it with respect, because so many times I heard the excuse of, why did you do something? Because the software did it. Well, at my firm, there's no quicker way to get fired than to answer that, oh, I did it because the software did that. Absolutely not. You have to know what you're doing. You cannot just rely on the software doing something. If the software did it one way, you cannot settle until you understand why the software did it that way, and do you accept and are you happy with it? Because the software has mistakes too. I mean, don't forget that the software is written by humans, the same humans that are at IRS, the same humans that are at my firm, and they also have to dig through the rules, and they also have to apply their own understanding of the rules, which are not always clear. So we have actually reported many errors to our software company, and they have corrected many errors based upon our response. So as long as you treat the modern improvements with respect and you do what's right, then automation is fantastic, and I certainly love it.
Yeah, it's a tool of the future, and I like to manage by trust then verify. So the idea that you're trusting the software to do its job, but you need to verify it is always a key step.
It's crucial. Correct.
Marcell, thank you so much for your time today. It's been great talking to you. I've learned quite a bit. And thank you also for your advice, your expertise, and your continued membership with the Palmetto Bay Business Association.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. It was great to be here. And thank you, Community Newspapers, for having us.
Thank you.